What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here, and today I'm going to be breaking down my dedicated Baal farming sorceress build. She is built for one purpose only, and that is grinding experience from level 98 to 99, which I have been making that ultimate push live on Twitch. If you guys want to give me a follow on my Twitch channel, of course the link for that is in the description below. But I've had a lot of questions about this character specifically, like what is her damage output, and basically anything you can think of, like why am I using Crescent Moon. And I wanted to make this specific build video to address a lot of those questions. And like all of my previous build videos, timestamps are in the description. So if you guys want to bounce back and forth between the attributes, skill tree, gameplay, or the gear, they're there for you guys to use, so please take advantage of them. Other than that, guys, I really do hope you enjoy this video. Let's jump in.
You're too late.
Before we dive into the gear for this character, I just want to briefly touch on the attributes and the skill tree. It is very generic, so I'm just going to quickly touch on them. First off, the attribute distribution, it is max fight, so I have just enough strength to equip my gear. Everything else is put into vitality, nothing into energy, and nothing into dexterity. In this specific build, you'll see more when we dive into the gear. I hit the 117 FCR breakpoint, and I have capped resistances and 8% damage reduction. And then as far as the skill investment goes, it is your standard generic lightning skill tree. So I have 1 point into warmth, 1 point into frozen armor, and then my remaining points are put into teleport and lightning and all of its synergies, including lightning mastery. And then once you reach a certain level, I believe it's 96, I think, don't quote me specifically. But after that, you have additional skill points that you can invest, which I actually chose to put more points into warmth for extra mana recovery. You can put them into thunderstorm or additional points into frozen armor. It really doesn't matter, but for this build specifically, I'm just using your generic lightning sorceress skill tree setup. Like I mentioned earlier, this character's gear is centered around reaching the 117 FCR breakpoint, capping all resistances, maximizing damage output, while having a little bit of MF and elemental absorb as well. So I think I did a really good job of kind of balancing everything for this build. Again, it is only for farming Baal waves and Baal himself from level 98 to 99, so keep that in mind when I go over all of the gear options. I will talk about some alternatives, but mostly going to focus on what I chose and my reasoning behind it. So starting off with the boots, I am using alders for the 50 to life and fire res. So the life is buffed by battle orders, and the fire res just helps make up for the lack of fire resistance on the shield that I'm using, which is spirit, as well as the lack of resistance on the weapon that I'm using. More on that in a little bit. But for the shield, this is a 35 FCR spirit. Again, there's no fire res, that's why I paired it with alders, but it's really important for this exact gear setup that I have that you have either 34 or 35% FCR, so that is why I'm using a perfect 35 FCR. Only the FCR is perfect, but you get the idea. 35 FCR spirit, and then I paired that with a Wisp Projector Ring and Dwarf Star. So the Dwarf Star is life, again, boostable by battle orders, and then the Wisp Projector is a little bit of MF, and then Lightning Absorb for souls. So I can tank souls, and I can tank Hydras on wave 3. No problem. You don't really need the Dwarf Star. It's just nice to have a little bit of extra survivability when you're 98 and 2/3 making your way to level 99. For the belt, I am using Arachnid's Mesh for the 1 tall skills and 20 FCR. Again, it's really important that I reach that 117 FCR breakpoint for a Lightning Sorceress. The gloves, Mage Fist for the additional FCR and mana recovery. I don't have an issue with resistances, so that's why I'm not using Triangles. The body armor, not a lot of people use Chains of Honor on a sorceress, at least a lot of serious single player MFers, but the reason why I am using Chains of Honor is for the 2 tall skills to buff my damage, but mostly the 65 all resistances. It's very difficult to cap my res with the weapon that I'm using, so Chains of Honor helps me kind of complete the build, and it also has DR and a little bit of MF, so it's just a nice overall armor for like this leveling build. For the weapon, I am using Crescent Moon, Shale Amontur, basically for the minus 35% enemy lightning resistance. Just helps maximize my damage output. You can use other weapon alternatives like Hodo if you want more res and FCR to kind of switch your gear around. The Shooter's Temper is actually less damage. This also gets brought up a lot on stream. Might say that it does more damage on the character screen, but that doesn't actually mean it's more real damage that the monster is taking based on their resistances. So that's the reason why I'm using Crescent Moon. It's just that minus 35 enemy lightning res just really helps up the damage output of this character. And then the helmet and amulet, I have Griffins. This is a minus 25 plus 17 faceted Griffins paired with a 218 FCR 21 MF caster amulet. So the 25 FCR on Griffins, the 18 on this caster amulet, 35 and then 20 and 20. That is how I reach 117. Again, with capped res, 8 DR, around 150 MF, and then pretty much maximize damage output. So I think it's a really good overall leveling build. And then on the offhand, I have my 564 CTA paired with Spirit just to boost the skills a little bit more. And then for the inventory, I have a Torch and Annie, a couple lightning skillers with life, and then a couple that are plain, and then one that has 7 faster run walk, paired with 1 Geed's Grand Charm. So basically maximizing the damage output and then just carrying an extra 40 MF. And then these small charms, I have a 5L res 6 MF small charm. And then all these are 7 and 1 6 MF small charm with 1 5% FHR, 10% fire res small charm. So you pair this with the Spirit. That is how I get my 60 FHR breakpoint on the Sorceress. But that is the gear in her entirety. Again, capped res, 150 MF, max damage, and 117 FCR breakpoint. As far as the Mercenary's gear goes, I'm just using my standard go-to B-Gaze, Fortitude, Infinity setup for the Conviction Aura. There's other choices for like the body armor and a helmet, but Infinity is absolutely mandatory. That Conviction Aura is what helps boost our total overall damage output. But that wraps up all of the gear, inventory, and merc stuff that I wanted to touch on. So now I'll do an example run on Players 8 difficulty to show you guys how quickly I can do a run and just how much experience I kind of get this far in the leveling game, pushing my way to level 99. So my experience bar says 144,455. That's before we go down, do the clear the throne room on Players 1, then I switch to Players 8 for the Baal waves, and then I always go down to Players 3 for Baal because his experience is capped out at Players 3. That gets asked a lot on stream. Killing him on a higher difficulty setting, it doesn't give you any more XP, so I always go down to Players 3. But I just wanted to show 144,000, and then you'll see how much I get per run. But I always go down to the throne room on I always go down on Players difficulty 1 for moments like that. Teleporting into something crazy in the throne room could not be good. Oops, didn't mean to do that. But yeah, I always go down on Players 1 difficulty. It just makes things a little bit safer when I go to clear the throne room. Chain Lightning works really effective on the first 3 Baal waves and clearing the throne room. So I always toggle back and forth between regular lightning and Chain Lightning. Okay, cleared throne room. So there you can see Players 8 difficulty. I always teleport behind Baal. It doesn't really matter for the first couple of waves. So basically just teleport behind Static and Chain Lightning the first 3 waves. But the reason I teleport behind Baal is kind of funnels the waves. They have to come up the staircase to attack me, and that works really good on wave 4 and especially wave number 5. Typically I run a loop filter, which is nice for this clutter, but we're not running that today. Always make sure you check everything. You don't forget a wind force on a Baal wave. Believe it or not, I have done that. Not one of my prouder moments. So the first 3 waves, I always go Chain Lightning, but wave 4 and 5, it gets to the point where they have so much health that regular lightning is just quicker. So I still teleport behind, Static Field, and then just switch to regular lightning. And you can kind of see there how my mercenary just sits here, kind of blocks them, acts as like a choke point, almost. That's why I always like to teleport behind Baal. But you can really see like the raw damage output that this character has. Like that's players aid Baal waves, so basically as strong as the waves are gonna get, and she had no problem. And then Baal, you just teleport static and lightning. Hope you get good RNG with his cold arrow and his annoying ass mana burn thing. And there we go. So that is a full run. And we jumped from 144,000 to 231. So I'm not going to do the math, the difference. I don't feel like doing it on the fly for this video. But you get the idea. It is a lot of Baal runs to get all the way to level 99. So that is why I have this character set up. Really tanky, capped res, DR, you name it. I think everything is covered for this character for specifically for leveling. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about for this video. Other than that, guys, if you could throw a like on this video, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. I post new weekly content and stream on Twitch now on a consistent basis, so your support with a sub on YouTube or a follow on Twitch would be awesome. Hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll see you on my next video or live stream. Peace out.